Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Academy, where we come ready to teach and hope you're ready to learn, about leadership principles, and about some of the other leaders out there, what they do and what makes things different in the whole leadership world, and why people succeed and others are struggling. And so we get the chance and opportunity to talk to those that are making things happen and to hear their story and to learn a little bit about it. Again, the Leadership Academy is sponsored by Titan Media Works, doing production for podcasts and basically being the easy button for businesses out there. So with us today, we've got Meilani Wilder. Welcome, Meilani. How are you?
Thank you. I am fantastic. How are you?
Doing wonderful. So Meilani is the CEO and chief designer at the Wilder Shoppe. So let's just start right there. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the Wilder Shoppe, it's a passion project that has turned into a business, to be 100% honest. I started as a freelance web designer in 2017. Right after I got married, actually, and today is actually my wedding anniversary. It's been 7 years. So I've been 7 years in this game. And during my entrepreneurship journey, I got to meet all types of walks of life with different business owners. And I noticed there was a common theme that not only were business owners missing key elements that had to do with their websites or in website at all, but they didn't have basic branding, like, a social media page or Google My Business, or, didn't know anything about any of those type of sectors. So the Wilder Shoppe was developed in 2021 after careful consideration of trying to transition from being just a contractor to, a business owner, which was a very huge decision for me. It was very scary. But what we do is we aim to help as many business owners as possible to elevate or enhance their digital presence, whether it's through their websites, through Google with SEO, or through social media, any type of social media platforms, and just anywhere you can basically find someone online on the page or off the page, because we also do, marketing that people, like printing materials and such, but our main focus is the digital space.
Gotcha. So now tell a little bit of what's the difference between a marketing company and a branding company?
With the marketing, the main thing that because like we have a marketing section in our company that's specifically geared towards helping people getting their name out there and marketing their services. And with branding, when you think of branding, you think about everything you possibly know when it comes to a company. So let's say, for example, Apple. They have the bitten apple. You see that apple, you know that it's an Apple product, because we have been trained to know that that was what their branding is. And that's what we aim to do for any type of business, is to train their audience that as soon as they see their logo, as soon as they see their colors, they see that font, they know that's the brand that they want to be engaged with. So with marketing, it goes hand in hand with branding, but branding is kind of like the half step before you even get to the marketing perspective and the marketing steps on trying to get your business out there.
Gotcha. So as far as from a branding perspective, how do you approach your clients differently than a typical marketing company would do?
I love to take a very personal approach. I love to get to know my clients inside and out, and get to know their company inside and out, because our goal is to make sure that every single brand is within the voice that the business owner wishes to have. Because some business owners come to us and they have absolutely everything figured out, or at least they think they have everything figured out, and but they don't have a clear brand voice and they don't have a clear brand message. So what we end up coming in and doing is just kind of helping them mold that. So it all honestly depends on where the company is or where the entrepreneur is, because it's not only do we work with companies, but we also work with personal brands too. So it just depends on where they are in their journey. And then we just kind of build on top of that.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started doing this. What is it that caused the creativity of, I want it to be this and this kind of a company?
Well, after, like I said, I had started my web development career in 2017, right after I graduated from college. And it was honestly because, due to my health, I have like several different, autoimmune diseases and different, like gynecological issues. There's a lot of things that kind of keep me in and out of the hospital, unfortunately. So having a typical 9 to 5 job was just not in my cards. But I had this desire to still help. I had this desire that I still wanted to create. And being the CEO and the chief designer, I am allowed to do both, because being a CEO, I stand in the position to be able to pick and choose who we end up working with, who we can align ourselves with, and who we can help elevate. And then as a designer, I get to let my creative juices flow. So honestly, it's like, to an extent, it's the best of both worlds, because not only do I get to get my company name out there and myself out there and get to help as many people as possible, because that's, at the end of the day, that's all I want to do. I just want to help. That's just the type of person I am. It's like, I'm the type of person that, if I had my last dollar, I would give it to my best friend, because it's like, I'm always just giving. And every ounce of love that we pour into every brand that we elevate, we just do nothing but pour just all of our resources, even if, sometimes we're not even paid to do so, just because we believe in the fact that, small business owners deserve to have a chance without breaking their bank.
Yeah. I totally understand that. Very much so.
It's kind of crazy, because it definitely, after a while, it definitely gets to be a burnout sometimes, especially because, like, I just give, and my husband is just like, can you stop? Like, reel it back in. And I'm like, but I want to help. And it definitely becomes a sore point. But I couldn't have been more blessed with a great partner, because, even though I fly off the rails like that, my husband's still like, okay, how can I help? Let's jump in. Let's figure this out together. So it's just, having that great support behind me definitely helps to the company to keep surviving.
Yeah, I hear you. So you've been doing this for how long did you say? 7 years now?
7 years. Yep.
7 years. So what would you say, if you could go back to the beginning when you first started this, knowing what you know now and the experience that you have now, what would be some words of advice that you would be giving yourself back then when you first started?
Never stop researching. Always keep current with all with trends, because unfortunately social media likes to change like the wind. So something that, I thought when I first started with my, because, like, I started as a web developer and slowly kind of got into social media management like shortly after, just because that was just what my client needed. And I didn't realize how much of a beast it was, to be 100% honest. And it was very discouraging. And one thing, another last thing that I would say to myself is to not give up, because um, being an entrepreneur is hard. Being a leader is hard. And anything that, especially when you have your mind set on something and your heart set on something, there's going to be all types of roadblocks and challenges along the road. And something that, I've done since I was a child is just like, okay, I'm done. I'm walking away. But, and with this, I would keep telling myself, just keep going, because it's going to get better. You're going to keep getting better, and just don't be discouraged once you hit those roadblocks, because there's definitely difficult clients, there's difficult situations that you have to deal with, and it definitely is disheartening, but it's definitely worth it in the end, because there's always a lesson in everything. So
Yeah. Oh, that's very good. That was good. Very good advice.
thank
So
you.
tell us, if you can kind of think of a time when you felt like you were hitting one of those roadblocks, or one of those times of, dang, how do I get through this? And maybe it was with a client or just business in general, or plateauing. I know a lot of people, it's like they
Hmm.
figure they hit a plateau, then how do they break through it? So what tell us about one of those times and what it is that you did to break through.
So I had a extremely difficult client. It was one of my first clients. And I've been in a referral base for a while, but I've recently started to break out of that. And it was a referral. So I was trying every which way I could think of to make that referral work, because I didn't want to tarnish the personal relationship that I had developed with that person, because I'd known that person, as a human before they were my client. And something that I ended up learning very quickly was I needed to be in a professional stance and stand very firm in my ground. And that was something that I had to definitely, because I'm a people pleaser. As you heard me say, I love to give. And when I can't give to someone or I can't help, it tears me up inside. It bothers me for a very long time, until honestly I figure it out, or I get them to a person that will help them along their journey. But with this person, nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. None of my referrals were working for them. Like, even my referrals are like, this person is difficult, I don't want to be bothered. But what it took some deep meditation, some deep prayer. I walked away from the situation for a little bit, but and I was very glad to do so, because that gave me the chance to step away from it and look at it from a bird's eye perspective, look at every single angle, and not just my personal stake in the situation. Because and something that I it's very hard to pull away from, but something, especially being in that referral base, it's very difficult to pull Meilani personal from Meilani business. And that's a lesson that I have to continue to practice and be conscious of, because when you're a business owner, people are going to see you, especially if they don't know your business and it's, something that's relatively new. They're going to see you as you, and they're going to treat you as such. And, it also didn't help that this client was of the Gen X generation. So they had a different way of doing things. They were very stuck in their ways. And I just had to just keep going and keep changing with the flow, and just saying, okay, let's try this, and still trying to remain upbeat, remain positive, and to remain as neutral and businesslike as possible. And it's difficult. It's very, very, very difficult. Like, I'm a very emotional person, and it's hard to pull away from it. But walking away, thinking of, and seeing it from a different perspective, even polling, different business owners that I know, all resources helped me elevate. And I was eventually able to get a great solution for the person. It took a little longer than I wished it, but we got it done. And I was so happy. They were very pleased with their work, and they ended up referring me to several of their friends afterwards, because of the fact that, I did not give up on them. So many people had been, including their own children, and they're just
Yeah.
like, bless you for even going this far with our parent, because they're a fun person. But I was just so happy once we found a solution. And I was like, okay. And it was honestly basically what I had came in the door and said in, our initial meeting. But because of the fact, like I said, they were an older generation, we had to kind of skirt around all these other solutions that they were trying. They're like, yeah, this is going to work. And I saw this. And I was like, that's not necessarily true. And that was clickbait. So it was, it was very, very hard. Cause like I said, that person saw me as like a kid to them. So they were treating me like I was still 14. And I was like, no, I'm almost 30. Please treat me as such. This is my business. This is my livelihood.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That is really neat. Yeah. So how has your values, I heard you say, you prayed about things and stuff, how your faith and your values, how has that affected your growth throughout your business and your leadership style?
It has strengthened it significantly. Because, like I said, prayer and meditation are in my back pocket, even when it's just like everything is going crazy. Because I always, it's something that within honestly the past year, I have to keep reminding myself, the universe always gives us lessons. And when one door closes, another one will open. And you have to just remind yourself that if something doesn't work and you just keep beating at that dead horse, maybe it's time, and there's a reason why you're being redirected. And I love that, the fact that I've become more sound in my spirituality and in myself, to be able to recognize that, some of these issues weren't even with my clients, it was with me. And I would not have been able to recognize that had I not been so solidified in believing in something that was higher than myself. Because sometimes, everybody always needs help. And that's one thing that, I get that's from my mother, because, my mother is an older child, the eldest, I should say. And she's always just like, I'm going to do it. I'm not even going to ask. And that's the type of person that I am, because I was raised by myself. I didn't meet my brothers until I was 18. So I was an only child, and I'm just like, okay, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. But having my faith made me realize that's not always going to be a good solution, and that there are times when you're just going to have to pray for a miracle, because everything else on this earth is not lining up. But it definitely is still a back and forth for me. But just, as long as I stay rooted in my faith and in my beliefs, it takes me far. And I just have to just keep reminding myself and be conscious of reminding myself of such, especially in times of high stress.
Yeah, I totally get that. That is so true. The days that we are and stuff, just to keep that focus
Yeah,
makes a big
it's
difference.
hard, especially
Yeah.
with me, and I'm battling two kids and working from home full time. So it's definitely a challenge. There are many times I just close my bathroom door and I'm just sitting there praying for 10 minutes as, my son is sitting in a high chair watching bubble guppies, because, I just need that time to zen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now with family and kids and balancing all that, how do you, as a CEO and running a company, how do you keep a good balance between life and work, family, and everything else that goes on? I
Ooh.
mean, you got so many responsibilities, so much stress that comes at you all the time. How do you keep that balanced?
Honestly, I my husband's gonna be so happy to hear this, but I finally listened to him by putting some limits on what I was doing. Because I like to just do everything, and I just overextend myself. But some of the time that's why I was in the hospital dealing with my fibromyalgia, because I was stressing myself out because of how much I was giving. But I ended up, and it was so difficult, because I'm going to be very, very honest. I'm not an organized person. I'm getting better at it. I am so disorganized. I'm one of those people, you see those really super messy desks, and I know where everything is. Like, that's just how my office is. That's
That's
how,
creativity right there.
yes. And I said, and my husband, he's very much like, he's very meticulous, and he's like, this is the way we're gonna do this, and we're in the schedules. And I'm like, no. But when I finally listened to him, when he was just like, you need to have hours. He's like, these are your business hours. These are your home hours. These are the hours that you have for yourself. And, he constantly is in my ear, like, okay, your business hours are over. Let's transition to something else. And because, it's definitely difficult, and it took, some practice to do that, especially because, for years before 2017, I was working outside my house. Before I had my kids, I was extremely active. I was, and I was in all types of activities. I was just a very busy child, because like, I just like to be everywhere. That's just who I am. I'm very high energy. But having the kids made me slow down and made me realize, okay, there are some things that just don't deserve my attention, that isn't necessary. And I had to figure out, okay, what is the most important to me? This is what I need to focus my time on every day. And what was the most important was building that business of mine and making sure my kids were getting as much love as they possibly could. And there were times that I will admit I was neglectful emotionally wise, because I was just emotionally drained myself dealing with the outside world. But having that partner, and then now, I actually have a business partner who is actually, she's now my CFO of the company. But between the two of them, because they're both very meticulous people, and they're just like, what are your business hours? You respond to that email tomorrow. And they just, so it really, really, really helps.
Yeah.
Because I don't know when to stop sometimes. And most of the time, I can't even say sometimes. I'm not even going to fix my lips to say that lie.
Yeah, it's hard. It is.
It
You,
is.
you get in a groove and you're going through the day, and then to all of a sudden stop, and it's like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
but
and
but
having to make that transition, because my office is upstairs, so it's like I have to come down from the day before I even transition and go downstairs. And, that's when my home life starts. And, I'm really happy because my CFO and I are working on having a actual business office so that we can get away from our homes, be able to be there. And then that'll make my transition a whole lot easier. Cause like I said, I was used to being out and about. And, as soon as I'm in my car, that's me transitioning into, regular life. But, being at home full time and having my children, I don't get that. So I had to create that space, which has not been easy, especially, like today's like today, my daughter is actually home, and, normally she's at school from 8 to 3, but I'm having to juggle both of them as I'm sitting there trying to do things for clients. And it's definitely stressful. There are some days when work just does not get done because, my utmost importance of my life are my children and my husband and my well-being. So it's just, sometimes if the business has to get put on the side, it gets put on the side. And, clients can be upset. That's fine. I'd rather not be in the hospital or overextend myself because of the fact that I'm pouring in so much. And it's still, I'm a work in progress. I'm just happy though that, a year ago, I wouldn't have been able to say I could separate the two. So we've come a long way.
that's great. That is fantastic. So let's go back just a little bit and talk a little bit more about branding
Yeah.
and companies and businesses and what they should be thinking about when you're working with a client. You have a business owner that comes to you and says, "Hey, you know, what can you all do for me? And why you all what is it that you all can help them with? What is the mindset that the business owner needs to be in and be thinking about to really make things happen?"
Well, there's two main things that I always think about, because, we deal with all different types of industries. But the biggest thing that I'm always concerning myself with different businesses is who the business is at their core with their values and who they're trying to reach. Because everything that deals with the branding, especially because, like, let's say, a business owner comes to us and they have absolutely nothing outside of, I know this is the name of my company, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the products I have. So we need to craft an idea of, before we even get to the page and designing all types of stuff, we need to know, who are we even talking to? Who are your competitors, and who are they reaching? Because we want to help each business owner in every business create their own lane to be able to stick out among their competition. And something that I absolutely love, that I do. And I know that there's other companies that don't necessarily have the resources to do it. But I make sure everything is very personal to each company. I take the time out to make sure that we're doing all different types of research, and we're building that brand around not only the business owner itself, but building up that business to make them seem as, how do I want to say this, as prominent in their industry as possible. Because the biggest thing that we aim to do is to establish all of our business owners as industry leaders. And we can't do that if their branding message is all over the place. And it's like, and I've had, one example for sure is, I worked with an author for several years, and it was, the author as herself, and then there was the author's brand. And something that we had to do was to separate the two. And it was something that, it was very difficult, at first, because they did not want to really go to social media and, break out into different vehicles that weren't comfortable to them. But we make sure that we hold our clients' hands step by step, and making sure that they understand the importance as to why we're having to do things step by step, why things cannot be rushed. Because just because you have a logo and you have a company name, you can't just throw it onto a website and expect people to know who you are and why they should care about your business. You need to be able to find out, why are your customers talking about what they're talking about, how your brand and your products can help them, and what keywords are they searching for online, so that you can reach them in the most seamless way possible. Because one thing I love to do is organic reach, because a lot of my business owners do not necessarily have the big budget for marketing. So being able to tap into the market organically is something that definitely appeals to a lot of my customers, and a reason why a lot of them are like, okay, yeah, let's do this, because we have a very clear plan as to how we're going to move forward. So it gives them a lot of comfort. It gives them, and a lot more knowledge than what they came in, because not only are we going to help you build, we want to make sure that if you decide that one day you no longer want to be with us, you know what you are doing. You're not just completely in the dark. And that's something that I know a lot of different business owners and different businesses, especially in the branding industry, don't necessarily do. They just kind of take the project and just say, here's all of what we did. And then, the client's just looking like, okay, what is this? And how does this why do I even care? And why did you take my money? With us, though, it's literally step by step. And sometimes I'm sending a whole bunch of emails or text messages or phone calls just to make sure that person understands each step before we move forward. Because I love to make sure that every single business is building themselves up and helping themselves feel more confident. Because like I said, we want to make them industry leaders. And not only should they be experts in their field and what they're offering and their expertise, they should also be aware of how they can effectively get on the digital space and be able to reach their target audience.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's great. So, well, we've been speaking with Meilani Wilder from the Wilder Shoppe, and been hearing about her leadership styles and what it is that she's been doing as far as building her business, and a little bit on, some advice, great advice that she's had, and everything for each one of us. Meilani, thank you so much for being on the Leadership Academy with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so happy that I am here.
Yeah. Well, this has been a really good time. I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's definitely something that our listeners and viewers are going to really enjoy hearing and getting a chance to learn from. So,
Absolutely.
Again, I'm AJ Willoughby. This is the Leadership Academy. Again, sponsored by Titan Media Works, the easy button for podcasting and guest booking out there in the podcast world. Meilani, if people want to know more about you, how can they reach you? At your website, I'm assuming?
Yes, we have, the website is the Wilder Shoppe, and that's the Wilder, Wilder. Shop is spelled like the old-timey shop, because I'm just an old-timey girl. SHOPPE. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, pretty much anywhere social media wise you can find us, because I just love social media and I'm just always there. So please feel free to reach out to us, whether it's on our website or on any of our social medias, and we will get back to you as soon as possible to help you create your digital masterpiece.
There we go. Thank you so much. Everybody have
Thank
a
you.
great rest of the day.